Welcome. How many minutes do you think it takes for a person to bleed to death? According to Military Medicine Journal, it takes just 5 minutes for someone to bleed to death. I know this is a horrible thought, but what would you do if your family or friends were bleeding to death? When a person has a life-threatening bleed, they need immediate help. So in the next few minutes, you're going to learn the steps that the American Red Cross recommends to stop a life-threatening bleed. First of all, by identifying what a life-threatening bleed looks like, and then by learning a few different ways to stop the bleed. First, applying firm direct pressure, then packing a deep wound, and then applying a tourniquet. My name's Christy and I've been an EMT for the past 7 years, but you don't need to be an EMT to learn how to stop a life-threatening bleed. EMS World Magazine says that teaching lay people like yourselves how to stop a life-threatening bleed will save more lives. So let's get started. Imagine you're going for a hike. Someone up ahead on the path is clutching their arm. You can see blood pouring down. They're screaming. What are you going to do? The first thing that you want to do when you try to help someone is to stay safe. You can't help somebody if you get injured, so make sure it's safe for you to go and help. In our scenario, we're going to say it's safe to go and help. So we're going to head to this person and we're going to see if they are actually experiencing a life-threatening bleed. How are we going to know this? Stop the Bleed says that a life-threatening bleed looks like a bleeding that is gushing or spurting out of a wound, blood that's pooling on the ground below the person, blood that's soaking through dressings and clothing, or someone that's experienced a partial or a full amputation of one of their limbs. In our scenario, we're going to say that we see lots of blood gushing from this person's arm and pooling on the ground. So they are having a life-threatening emergency. We need to go and help. So our next step is to call 911. But while we wait for the ambulance to arrive, we can stop that bleed for them. Let's learn how to do that. To stop a life-threatening bleed, according to Fury, you must close the leak. Your blood vessel is like a hose. Water flows through a hose just like blood flows through your blood vessel. If you press down and flatten a hose, the water will stop coming out. And that's the same with the blood vessel. If you press down on a blood vessel, the blood will stop coming out. And that's what we want to do for somebody who's experiencing a life-threatening bleed. First of all, you need to locate where that bleed's coming from. In our scenario, we're saying it's coming from their arm. So we've located where the bleed is coming from. Then we're going to get some dressings and we're going to apply firm direct pressure over that dressing to the area. Now, when you're out hiking, you probably aren't going to have gloves or medical supplies with you. So you're going to need to improvise. Maybe someone up ahead is walking their dog and has some poop bags. Let's use those as gloves. And then you might need to improvise what kind of dressing you use because you might not have this with you. A t-shirt, a sock, a towel, whatever you've got, you can use as a dressing. Apply that direct pressure to the wound and keep holding on. Now, if this is a deep wound, what you need to do is with those dressings is you need to pack that wound with the dressings. So the sock, the t-shirt, whatever you have, the idea is that any space that's been created by that big wound needs to be filled with the dressing, and then you'll apply that firm direct pressure to the area. If after about 3 to 5 minutes, you can see that blood is still soaking through those dressings, you want to continue to apply pressure and add more dressings to the area, but you don't want to take away any of the initial dressings that you applied. Now, if the bleeding still won't stop after this and the bleed is on an arm or a leg, 2 articles in the Journal of Trauma and Acute Care Surgery say that the use of a tourniquet is recommended for a life-threatening bleed on an arm or a leg, and it's safe to do so as long as it's removed within 2 hours. Again, most people aren't going to walk around carrying a tourniquet in their back pocket, but if you're able to get access to a tourniquet, you want to do so for an arm or a leg bleed. So the steps to use a tourniquet are, this is what a tourniquet looks like. It's basically like a big belt, Velcroed belt. You're going to take that tourniquet and you're going to slide the belt buckle through the little hoop part there. You're going to place this either over the arm or over the leg about 2 to 3 inches above where the bleeding is occurring. And then you're going to tighten the Velcro as tight as you can. Then you're going to take this rod, kind of looks like a pen, and you're going to twist. You're going to keep twisting that rod until the bleeding stops. Just think think of it like a faucet. You keep turning a faucet until the water stops coming out. You're going to do the same with this. Keep twisting this rod until the bleeding stops. Then you're going to take the rod and you're going to slide it in through the top of this curved area here. Take the remainder of the Velcro strap and place that through those curved areas as well to make it nice and secure. Then you're going to take this final little Velcro strap and place it across the top. Here you're going to write the time that you applied the tourniquet. And that's how you apply a tourniquet, as simple as that. So now you know 3 different ways to stop a life-threatening bleed. Let's wrap up with a final recap on the steps that you'll take to stop a life-threatening bleed. First of all, you need to stay safe. If you're going to help somebody, you have to be safe to do so. Then you're going to identify if they are having a life-threatening bleed. Is the blood gushing, spurting out? Is it soaking dressings and clothes? Is it pooling below them? Or have they had an amputation potentially? If so, that's a life-threatening bleed and you need to call 911. While you wait for the ambulance to arrive, you can apply dressings with firm direct pressure to the area. If it's a deep wound, you want to pack that wound so that there's no space left in there and then apply that firm direct pressure. If it's a wound on an arm or a leg, you can use a tourniquet to help apply that pressure. Now, I hope you never need to use these skills, but if you do, now you know how to stop a life-threatening bleed and potentially save a life. Thank you.